Welcome to CEC lectures. Myself Dr. Preeti Jagwani. I am Associate Professor, Department of Computer Science, Arabic College, University of Delhi. As you all are aware that presently we are learning programming in Java through a lecture series, and in our previous lectures we have established a platform of general programming under this language Java. And today onwards we are going to go into, I can say, the object oriented paradigm flavor of Java. So with this today's topic is classes and objects in Java. So when we talk about classes and objects, so basically any class is, we can say, or generally the classes are at the heart of the Java, or they are the core of Java programming language. Because in our previous programs also you must have seen that any concept, if you want to implement in Java, even if it is a kind of a simple hello program, then that concept has to be, or a concept which is to be implemented in a Java program, that must be encapsulated within a class. So you remember that class demo, and within that class we used to write public static void main. So classes are basically, you can say, at the center stage of Java programming language. And these classes which we have seen in our earlier programs, they exist simply to encapsulate the main function or the main method, and that within the main method we have demonstrated the basics of Java syntax. So this is what we have covered till now as far as classes are concerned. Now today we are going to have kind of a different flavor of class, that is in I can say context to your object oriented programming paradigm. So basically class is something which defines a new class is actually something which defines a new data type. Once defined, that means once this new data type has been defined, we can use to create variables corresponding to that type, or we will be using that data type to create objects of that particular type. So basically we can say class is actually a kind of a template for an object, and every object which we will be creating is an instance of the class. So for example, if we say let us say integer a, so a here is a variable, integer is the data type. Similarly, yes, I can say similarly, if we are going to create a class, let us say demo, and then I am saying demo D1. So that D1 is basically of type demo, but this is actually a little different in Java from what went in C++. We will be soon looking into it. So classes and objects, when I talk about, they are actually used to represent real world entities, real world concepts. Now what kind of real world entities or real world concepts I am talking about? That could be tangible or intangible, in the sense when I am talking about banking system, so that is an intangible entity, you can't measure that, you cannot weigh out that. But if I am going to say car, so that is kind of in real world entity, that is representing a physical concept. So class basically represents a group of objects having similar properties and behavior. So for example, there is a car, there is a class car, and there are different models. So for example, we have BMW, we have Toyota, and then we have others. And all these objects which are created from this class car, for example BMW and Toyota, they are having similar properties and behavior. That means they have engine, they are vehicles, they are kind of we can say four wheelers and so on and so forth. So basically class is going to represent a group of objects, and these group of objects are having similar properties and behaviors. So class in Java can be can be defined as set of objects sharing common characteristics or common behaviors and common attributes also. Now what is this behavior and what is this attribute? We will be talking in a short while. So basically we can say class actually a user defined blueprint or a prototype from which objects can be created. So I generally used to say, you know, in my own lectures that it is a kind of, you know, skeleton, and that you know, kind of that skeleton or that, you know, a blueprint is going to be used in order to create other objects or other variables of its type. So for example, as I have given you, car is a class, while, you know, kind of Toyota or any other any other variable for that matter is an object. Similarly, a student is a class wherever a particular student, let us say named XYZ, is an object. So with this background, if I am going to talk about the properties of Java classes, so we can say that it is not a real world entity. But now this is something, you know, contradicting what I just explained, you know, 2 minutes ago, that they are used to represent, you know, real world concepts, and now I am saying Java classes are not a real world entity. Now why I am saying Java classes are not real world entities? Because they are not going to, you know, occupy memory. They are just the template or blueprint or prototype or skeleton from which the objects are going to be created. Classes are not going to have, or classes are not going to occupy any memory. Basically when we talk about, you know, let us say integer a, so integer is not going to occupy any memory. The memory which is being occupied by, you know, that particular variable a, that will be there, but integer is not occupying any memory. So within, you know, kind of this reference or this context, I can say that Java, you know, classes are actually not a real world entity. Although, you know, entity wise they are there to represent real world objects, but as they don't occupy memory, you know, physically they don't exist inside the memory, or I can say physically classes don't exist, but yes, objects do. So that's why we can say, you know, classes are not a real world entity. That is, you know, with reference to occupying memory. So class, group of variables of different data types and a group of methods. So what all, you know, elements will be contained in the class? So that means, you know, generally the two type of objects or two type of entities. One is the variables and another one is the method. So this variables and methods, they both will, you know, kind of, we can say, comprise a class. So then, you know, variable can be there, cannot be there, group methods can be there, cannot be there. So it's not a compulsion, it is, I am just going to give you a general idea that what will be contained within the class. So it is going to have variables and the methods. Now what variable, which methods, we will be looking shortly into it. Or if, you know, elaborated, if I am going to see this in an elaborated manner, I can say a class in Java can contain, you know, 4-5 elements. What are these 5 elements? One is the data member, which I was saying as the variable. Then they have methods, which are, you know, kind of functions to act upon those data members. Then they may have, you know, constructor. We will be looking into this constructor in our upcoming lectures. Or a class can contain another class within itself, so that is why we can say it is a nested class. Or it can have, you know, kind of a new term for the users or for the programmers is the interface here. So a class in a Java may contain data member, method, constructor, nested class and interface, and all these are optional. I mean, there is no such compulsion that one should have a constructor, one should have a nested class and so on and so forth. So looking into the, you know, general kind of, we can say, syntax or general format, that how these classes are going to be created. Here is the general format or general form of creation of a class, which says access modifier, then the keyword class, and within, you know, after the keywords, it is the variable which is the name of the class. Then there is, you know, kind of body of the class, which whose opening is demarked by opening curly brackets, and closing is given by closing curly braces, and within these opening and closing curly braces there can be data member, there can be methods, there can be constructors, there can be nested classes, and there can also be the interfaces. So, these 5 components will be there. But before going into these 5 components, or kind of proceeding further with the concept of classes, let us try to see what is this access modifier class name. So, access modifier is something kind of we can say like private or public. It is actually a keyword which is going to define the scope. So, access modifier is something like that sort. Then it is followed by the keyword class, and then whatever name you want to kind of assign to your class, that will be there, and then there is a body of the we can say body of the class. So, components in general, when we talk about, there can be access modifiers, as I have told you that they can be private, public, or we are not going to write any access modifier, then they have default access. Then there is a class, the keyword class itself, CLASS, that is it is used to create the class, and then a class name which ideally should begin with an initial capital letter. So, that letter is capitalized by convention, not by rules. Then within that statement, that access modifier class and class name, there can be 2 more components. One is the superclass. This is a concept which is related to inheritance. So, superclass will be the name of the superclass, which is the parent class of the class which you are declaring, if any. Then it is going to be used with the word extends. If there are any interfaces, then a comma separated list of interfaces can be implemented by the class, if they are going to be kind of relevant or exist in any of the program, then interface list has to be there, and a class can implement more than one interface, and this is actually followed by body which is surrounded by curly braces, opening and closing curly braces. So, components of class when we talk about, so we have modifiers, we have the class keyword, then we have name of the class, which is going to be obviously a variable name. Then if there is any superclass, that superclass has to be mentioned there by the use of word extend, and if there are any interfaces, a class can implement them. Even more than one interfaces can be implemented. Now, detailed study of these superclasses and interfaces we will be covering in our upcoming chapters. Then the class body is surrounded by braces. Now, taking those elements and trying to examine them, the first element says kind of we can say variable, or more specifically let us be more technical, let us call them as instance variable. So, the instance variable, or we can say normally variable, or we can say data, these are actually defined within the class. So, whatever variables we are going to define within the class are known as instance variable, and your class is also going to have some methods, and these instance variables and the methods collectively are known as members of the class. And generally the scenario is that these instance variables are acted upon and accessed by the methods defined for that class. So, for example, let us say I am having a class car, and within the class car I am having let us say kind of max speed is one of the instance variable. Now, within the that class body, there is a method which defines the max speed depending upon the particular we can say model. So, that method which is going to define, which is let us say define max speed, is one of the method which is going to access the instance variable, or which is going to access the variable which is kind of which is known as max speed here, and both the both the elements, that is the instance variable and the methods defined, are actually known as members of the class. So, yes, we can say in general scenarios these are the methods who are going to determine that how a class data or how the instance variables can be used, can be accessed, and so on and so forth. So, the control of kind of we can say variables is going to be in hand of methods in general scenarios. Now, when we talk about the term method, what kind of method I am talking about? Till this point we have only seen kind of we can say one of the methods primarily, which is the main. So, all methods will be having general format as that of main. So, that means the name of the method or name of the function followed by parenthesis, and then there is kind of body of the function. But most of the methods will not be specified as static or public. Main we are going to specify as public static void main, and why they are known as public static void main, that is what we have already covered in our previous lectures when we studied about this function main. So, most of the methods here will not be specified as static or public. Now, also please notice that general form of a class does not specify a main method, as we have seen in our example, or we will be looking into more examples in in a short while. So, general form of class does not specify a main method, and all the classes do not have a main method. Java classes may not have a main method. Only one class which we are going to mark as the starting point of the program, that will have the main method. Even there are programs which the whole program they do not require main method at all. For example, that we have seen in our earlier kind of lectures when we were studying the features of Java. So, applet basically a server side programming tool of Java, and it is not requiring main method at all. So, that means when you are kind of I can say working with applets, main method is not required. So, you will specify only main method if the class is the starting point for your program. Now, your program may have many classes, and the class from which you want to start the execution of the program, that class must have the main method. Generally, if we can see what is the kind of general format, taking an example. So, here it is class box. Now, please notice that we have not specified any access modifier before the keyword class, as we discussed. Now, why we have not specified? Because even if we do not specify something like public or private before the keyword class, there is a default access specifier which is going to kind of which is there. So, it is not like that this box class is not having any access specifier. The box class is having the default access specifier. Now, what is that default access specifier? Just to let you know the term, this default access specifier is nothing but package private. And what is this package private? That we will see in in our upcoming lectures. So, now here we have a class which is named as box, and within that class you have only three data members. One is width, another one is height, and the next one is depth, and all these variables width, height and depth are of type double. So, here when we look into this structure, we can say that a class defines a new type of data, and here that new type of data is nothing but box. So, this class or this declaration has defined one new data type which is known as box, and now we can use this box to declare objects or to create variables of this type box. And again I am reiterating that class declaration only contains a template, it does not create an actual object. That means as of now actual object has not been created. This is just declaration of a class which creates a template. And when we say that how to create objects, so we have seen class, the declaration of the class, we have seen what other technical terminologies will be surrounding that general format, like your access specifier and so on and so forth, that we have seen. But if we want to see how kind of objects will be created, or the this particular course which this particular code which says class box double width, double height and double depth, is actually just defining a new data type. It is not having any actual object, or it has not created any actual object as of now. So what will be the kind of strategy if we want to actually create a box object? So this sentence or the statement or the code goes like this: box and then the name of the variable is equals to new box, and within new box followed by parenthesis. So here if you can see that box is the name of the class, then next I have written my box, so that is going to be a new variable which is created by the box class, or we can say my box has been created. And when we say is equals to new box, I am going to tell you in a short while that what is the need of this is equals to new box followed by parenthesis, that we will see in this lecture more. So whenever we want to write a particular object, want to write a particular class and want to create the object, the whole kind of we can say code goes like this. So this says class box double width, height, depth, whatever you want to have, and there is a closure of the class marked by closing parenthesis, closing braces. Then within that file only I am going to write one more class which is named as class box demo, and within that box demo I have started with my main. Within this main, an object named as my box of this particular class box is actually created by the statement box, my box is equals to new box, and then the brackets are there. Then there is a variable which is volume, and after the creation of my box we are going to assign the values to the my box instance variable, which is width, height and depth. So we are going to write my box width, my box height and my box depth, and going to assign some values onto that. Now we are computing the volume of the box by taking these three variables. So volume is going to be my box dot width multiplied by my box dot height multiplied by my box dot depth, and finally we are going to print the we can say value of this volume. So here what we did, we have created one class box, we have created another class named as box demo, and within this box demo inside the main function an object of the class box is being created, and we have performed a simple calculation on the instance variables of the class box. So here in this lecture what we have covered till now is actually what is all about what is the base, what is the fundamental of Java classes, how these objects are going to be created, but lot much about this classes and objects is left, and we will be covering them in our upcoming lectures. Here is a list of references which is being used for the preparation of lecture. Hope you have enjoyed one. I will see you in the next lecture. Till then, take care. Goodbye.